Welcome back, Wolfpack. Verlis here. We just had the Sun and Moon starter evolution reveal, which means that all those months of speculation, fan art, and fake leaks can finally be put to rest. Well, all of them except for one, because we still have the Chinese final evolutions to deal with. However, this is a great time because now that we have the middle stage, we can see what is going on into the final stage evolution to see if they still make sense. Now, this is the Chinese leak that pretty much got everything right up until this point. I mean, Rugby Monkey. Are you serious? Like, I think that's the biggest one that seals it for me. No one could just randomly be like, yeah, there's gonna be a rugby monkey in the Alolan region. You know, sea cucumber dolphin, that's pretty good. But also Rockruff being a werewolf, no gems, and then the diamond stones. This sounded like absolute madness, but they did get it true. So first off, let's go to the Pokemon Sun and Moon website, and this is going to show us the information on the newly revealed Pokemon. So it's not just about design, because there are some design problems like between the stages that don't make complete sense, but when has Pokemon made sense when it comes to evolutionary designs 100% of the time? So we can actually look at the personalities and information about these Pokemon and get more about it. Blade Quill Pokemon for Dartrix. Like, first off, the name and the category for Dartrix seem really good. Dart is still a throwing ranged weapon, and it's similar to like an archer or a bow. So we have that kind of build up right there, especially if you're thinking like youth bow, still technically dart throwing in a way, something like that. So Dartrix is extremely sensitive to other presences in the area and can detect opponents behind it and throw feathers to strike them without even seeing them. So this falls in line with what we've seen from Rowlet so far, and then going into the evolution. This Pokemon conceals sharp-bladed feathers inside its wings, showing outstanding precision, and it sends them flying and attack. This is where it starts getting crazy, because while the design for, you know, Rowlet, Dartrix into the final evolution doesn't look that insane, like it's not like, oh my god, that looks exactly the same, the design elements are very similar, such as hiding arrows in its wings. That was actually one of the descriptions and details given about this Pokemon, and Dartrix does the same thing, except with bladed feathers instead of like full-on arrows. So I think that that's like what this design is right here, which is really freaking cool. Like, I love the evolution, the final evolution design so much. Like, it uses a Vine Whip because it's a grass-type Pokemon to make a bow out of its wing, and then it shoots things. That's really cool, but also like a lot of the other personality stuff kind of comes across. Like we've already seen in the trailer, Dartrix get a bit frustrated, and we can see, you know, pulls on the strings and it's like, I'm angry, or at least like upset a bit. So well, let's read on and see where this goes. And it goes beyond propelling its blade quills in simple straight lines. It can even bend these feathers to change their trajectories. Hey, that'd be actually pretty cool if there was like a way for the final evolution to kind of have these similar power. But either way, revealing a certain snobbiness in its personality, Dartrix cares a great deal about its appearance, grooming its feathers at every spare moment. In truth, it's also a bit of a bird brain with a tendency to bungle things up. Once it makes a mistake, it sometimes gets into a desperate struggle to gloss over the situation and ends up making a bigger mess than ever. Again, I think the personality kind of works. And also, if we read on, it gets even better. At times, this Pokemon feels so bothered by its dirty or ruffled feathers that it can't focus in battle. When it loses focus, it sometimes even retires from the battle on the spot. So, it's a bit spoiled, you know, it's a bit of a prissy Pokemon right there. It's up to each trainer to help develop Dartrix to overcome this troublesome stage. If this Pokemon is with a trainer who helps it through, its strength will grow hugely. So we've already seen this. Like, it seems like a prince, kind of posh, preppy looking Pokemon, and it does get a little frustrating. You know, if you touch its hair thing, it freaks out. So it is the teenage Pokemon, and it does have that snobbiness about it. It does have that personality. So maybe that could explain the difference in the way that it looks through its evolution, because we have like more of a Rowlet color scheme for the final evolution, but this is something completely different. And maybe it's just a phase, Mom. You know, maybe we'll get over this, and then it becomes like this guy. So that'd be pretty cool. Also, just looking at some other designs, if we look right here, there's still that brown color with the white. Well, this is brown with white spots instead of white with brown spots. So that's at least something that looks pretty similar right there. Besides like the arrows, which is just crazy. And then the tail, or the tail feathers. You know, we have one like big spike right here, then we have two, and then we have three. So at least that still makes sense, and it looks a lot like Rowlet's in the end. So I'm wondering, like, that's why it seems so weird, because if you're making a fake, and if you're trying to fake people, you're going to make it look as similar to the starter evolution, and this kind of breaks that up. But I feel like it wouldn't be hard for this Pokemon to go and revert back. I think Frogadier is a really interesting one to look at, because it goes from like Bubble Scarf to Tongue Scarf, and a lot of the other designs like change color, and it's a complete overhaul. So we've seen jumps like Quilava into Typhlosion. We have a 4-legged Pokemon into a 2-legged beast Pokemon. The only thing that's the same is kind of like the fire coming out of its back. So, while not being the most design-oriented, I think the overall details of this Pokemon are almost spot on with what we've seen in the final evolution. Next up, we have Brionne. Brionne's interesting because it's the Pop Star Pokemon. I mean, what does this look like to you guys? It's even got the little starfish, it's got pearls, it's got glamour about it, it performs, it sings. This is a pop star if I've ever seen it for the final evolution, so once again, that's looking good. And interestingly enough, when you like look at it, Brionne into the final evolution, kinda? Poplio into Brionne though is kinda like separately the evolutions don't make sense, but when you look at it all together, it actually comes together pretty well because Poplio into Brionne, it makes about as much sense as Brionne into the final evolution, so that does work. But also, there is the progression right here. Poplio has this, like, one little frill thing that turns into an almost dress on Brionne, and then it kind of splits up. So we still have it on the tail. We have it as, like, a skirt right here, and then all over the place. Also, the bubble ears. So I was like, wait, we don't see ears on this final evolution. That was what was throwing me for a loop. But at the same time, like, okay, bubbles, kind of like pearl idea, looking like pearls, looking like some kind of jewelry, and that does make a lot of sense. And then Poplio even, like, it goes from a darker blue Pokemon to a white Pokemon almost. And we can see that progression. You know, the tail becomes pure white from this like split right here, and then the hands. So the hands and the arms are starting to like grow into this final evolution. So actually looks pretty solid right there, even though I'm still confused by this entry. I've read over it and it's really just a lot about dancing. I think that's like the best way that you can summarize this up. So Brionne learns its dances by imitating the other members of its colony, sometimes even learns dances from humans. This Pokemon is a hard worker and pours itself into its efforts until it has memorized each dance. Yeah, we get it. You like dancing. As it dances, dance, revolution. Okay. Brionne creates balloon after balloon. In battle, it first sends its opponent into disarray with its dancing and then slaps its balloons into its target. So it dances and then Bubble Beam wrecks them. GG. Causing the balloons to explode and deal damage. Brionne can dance in perfect time with others even if they have only just met. On moonlit nights, you can sometimes see throngs. That's a new word for me, of Brionne dancing as one in perfect fluidity. Brionne always acts cheery and positive even when it's feeling sad. This Pokemon doesn't allow its sorrow to show. It's said that Brionne will only reveal sad expression to a Pokemon or trainer who has opened its heart completely. So, like, one thing that's weird is, like, it doesn't have legs, so it's just going to be more, like, it's going to do its own style of interpretive dance, but when you look at this, it doesn't seem as much dancing as it does just straight up, like, pop star performer, more of, like, a singer, siren kind of Pokemon, but it does work out, so I'm thinking that that's still looking pretty solid for the evolutionary line. So, like, yeah, we start off here, and then it starts getting more and more convincing, and then we have Torracat, the Fire Cat Pokemon. That doesn't really give us too much. Like, it's not as big as the other two. But the bell-like object attached to the base of Torracat's neck is a flame sac, an organ that can produce flames. Cool, so it's kind of like the eyes that Meowstic has to hold in its power or some shenanigans like that. Torracat's emotions cause a rise in the organ's temperature, and when the organ spits flames, it rings with the high, clear sound of a bell. Torracat attacks using flames emitted from this bell. Hey, where have we heard that before? It goes from bell, like, it's not even like I'm saying, oh, hey, that looks like a bell, kind of like how a cat wears a bell with a collar or something like that. No, it's a bell. You know, we got the belt of this wrestler fire tiger that shoots flames and probably represents off its emotions and stuff. You know, as we can see right here, the fire, and there's even a note like here, like, as it's going for the attack, the fire kind of shoots out spikes and stuff, so there we go. Also, if you, like, look at the design, the paws become a lot thicker, more hand-like. Just this design right here, the alchemy symbol for sulfur or whatever that people were speculating, that's throughout this entire Pokemon. It's on the front, it's on the back of its head, it's on its face, it's on the front, the tail kind of looks like a fuse that's lit, and that looks like an even bigger fuse that's lit. Like, this is starting to look pretty solid right here for the design. The face, you know, we have these eyebrow spike things that kind of go pretty crazy and insane, and then again there was Mallow, so there's that. And then all kinds of fire, flamey, just cheek fluff. Yeah, it's looking really solid for this Pokemon, but let's read on. Torracat's mane serves as an excellent sensory organ, and it can sense what's going on around it, even in the dark. It can also detect the presence of hidden enemies. So, we see that quite a bit. Torracat has a great love for battle and will attack so relentlessly that the opponent loses the will to fight, and yet sometimes behaves like a spoiled child in front of trainers or Pokemon to whom it has built a relationship of trust. So what you're telling me is that it's a cat. Gotcha. The cat punch that this Pokemon can dish out with its strong forelegs is extremely powerful. It can bend iron bars and knock out men with a single blow. So, yeah, like look at that. Now that they're talking about like the forelegs and how strong it is and that it can punch, I mean, not to get too silly here, but I mean, look at this cat's butt as well. Like, that is a person-looking butt. Like, that's a stand-up, like, it can actually stand up and throw a punch, or at least lunge with it. Like, that's a very strong backside this Pokemon has, which would help if it's going to stand up and become anthropomorphic like that. So that's a big one, and also we can see, like, yeah, it's getting some bicep action going on, it's getting some strength in its forearms, so that makes a lot of sense how it can, like, knock out large men with a single blow. Why would it specifically say large men if it's not going to become some kind of fighter in a way? Very interesting. Very interesting indeed. So I don't even know what to say. Like the licking itself to shoot flaming spitballs of fire, that seems to still be there, but kind of not really as much. And I think that's all we have to it. So see guys, like the leaks are actually looking pretty good right now. I'm trying to think about what else there is to say, but I don't really think there's anything left. Like the Pokemon are alright. The middle stage designs, I'm not the biggest fan of, but I'm still like really hype about the final stage evolution. So those are seeming to be even more true now than ever. And we'll see what happens. It's just a month and a half, guys. Month and a half Pokemon Sun and Moon. So guys, enjoy the video. Hope you all have a nice day. Thank you very much for watching.